I'm Andrea Heng and welcome to the Money Talks podcast. Now, I need to confess I am not a talker. I do not like to talk on the phone. And this is funny considering I talk for a living. And it's a shame because I have this bunch of free talk time minutes that are totally wasted on me on my mobile phone plan. And that's the thing, right? Today there are data-only plans that exclude talk minutes. In fact, there are a lot of mobile phone plans out there to suit every type of user. But with so many options beyond the three major telcos here in Singapore, we're talking about Singtel, StarHub, M1. Is it time for us to make the switch? We're going to get tips now from Dinesh Dayani. He is a co-founder at DollarsandSense.sg. Hello, Dinesh.
Hi, good to be on the show.
Yeah, you're no stranger to Money Talk, so thanks for coming back. So, Dinesh, are you a talker or are you a texter?
No, I think like you and maybe most other people, I think we don't pick up our phones as much nowadays.
Because get scam, right? What if it's a scam call?
And if it's really important, they'll call back.
That's true. That's what my parents tell me all the time. So what do you do the most then on your mobile phone?
I think because I have young kids, the video function is quite useful for us.
Really? Okay.
Because whenever one parent is out or even the grandparents, you video. So I'm using that a lot now.
Okay.
And yeah.
Video calls.
It sucks up a lot of data as well.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so how did then your habits, right, using a lot of, video calls, inform the kind of mobile phone plan and provider that you decided to subscribe to?
So I already switched to the SIM-only plan like years ago. And then I realized, okay, not everyone know about it. Not everyone has done it, even if they know about it.
Right, okay. When you chose your SIM-only plan, what was the most important element or factor that you were looking out for in that plan?
I think several things are quite important to me. Right. So one, obviously, the amount of data that you get.
Right.
So I think when you choose SIM-only plans, you have to choose whether you are an extreme data user, so kind of like you watch Netflix literally on the go while going to the office, or you just use it for, basic needs. Some work from home needs, some work from off-site needs, but pretty much standard, right? Then you're a basic user. And I think nowadays basic user also can hit the 100 GB range sometimes. Yeah. So if you're extreme, then it's much more because you're watching shows.
Right. So you really need to know what your habits are in order to decide which one to get, right? So I have a plan with one of the big telcos, but I know of many friends who have been courageous enough, I would dare say, to jump over to these other alternative network operators. They're called MVNOs, Mobile Virtual Network Operators. And these are the likes of Circles.Life, My Republic, Red One. What's the difference between these two types, ultimately, the big telcos and these MVNOs?
I don't think they're so different in a way. So let's talk about similarities, right? I think they do work with the major telcos in the first place.
Okay.
So they don't own their own networks.
Right.
So they work with in partnership with the major telcos, and then they offer their services thereafter. So I think they buy spectrum maybe on a wholesale basis, and then they sell to consumer, and maybe that's their margin in between. Right? So in terms of service, I don't think there's a major difference in the actual mobile service.
Okay.
But obviously they are usually online services, so they don't have physical presence. You can't walk into a store, you can't go in and say, hey, I don't know what's happening on my phone. So that's one big difference. And I think the other big difference is usually the price point and types of contracts that are offered. So the main telcos, the major ones, I think the three big ones that you mentioned, they usually have their 2-year contract plans also on top of the SIM-only plans, right? So more variety. They also have other services. So if you want to have like your mobile broadband and your home data, your landline, your cable TV all in the same place, then they can offer you the entire thing. Right? If you go to the MVNOs, then usually only one type of service and only the SIM-only type, usually.
By virtue of what you've just told me, do you think then, purely observational, that younger people tend to go for MVNOs and those who are married with their own homes, they need to think about internet, they would be the ones to go for the big telcos then?
Okay, I think that maybe to me, it's a misconception because you think like, hey, the youngest people will be the one to just find the best bang for their buck.
Precisely,
right?
Because they're on a budget.
Yeah, but I mean, people like me in the middle age territory of our lives, there's no reason not to also find out what these MVNOs are. And I think there's another thing that is quite interesting because not all the providers we think are MVNOs are actually MVNOs.
Oh, what do you mean?
So the major telcos actually own some of the MVNOs. So for example, Singtel owns Gomo.
I see.
right? So it's a service by Singtel.
Right.
You're not going to a different company.
So it's just their way of capturing the MVNO market, so to speak.
So it's actually the same company, the same service.
When you go to an MVNO,
Yeah.
you tend to think that it is more affordable. Is that necessarily true?
I think definitely they lure you in with the price point, and that's attractive. But like I said, the other telcos also offer some of the same price points. So you got to really see how they differentiate themselves. And I also think one of the things at the back of people's mind, especially sometimes my parents, is that one, they're not really familiar with the brands. Right, so that you say Circles Life or Circles.life, like we don't even know how to pronounce it properly between the two of us. So I just say Circles Life, right? And then there are also ones that actually have gone out of business. So they came in the market, didn't really last, and then what happens to their subscribers, right? That painful journey of having to redo their plans again. So I think that's the other thing that maybe stops people from using them.
Okay.
And then for me, actually, is a little bit of like financial clutter, I feel.
Right.
Like how many different bills do I want to see each month?
That's true.
Does it make sense to save a few dollars and then, have 3 different bills then?
If you didn't have so many bills, would you consider an MVNO more then?
I think when you look at MVNOs, and they have really changed in the way they package their product nowadays. So when it first came out, the selling point was SIM only cheapest.
Yes.
Right. Today is not really that only, right? So today I see a lot of these MVNOs or even quasi MVNOs owned by the major telcos.
Right.
They offer plans that share data with nearby territories like Malaysia or Indonesia. So if you travel to these places very often, there are plans that share Singapore and Malaysia.
Okay, that's nifty to know. There are complaints though of network quality. I mean, you're smirking already. That tells me you are very familiar with these complaints. Network quality, the speed dropping off, among other things. Are these allegations true? And I mean, how much of it has to do with the fact that we're paying less for such plans?
Okay, on a general level, I think they're buying network space from the major telcos. So actually, they are the same service, right, in a way, whether you're MVNO or the major telco.
Some of the data plans that are offered are quite shocking, and you mentioned some of them as well, right? They offer 500 gigabytes, 1 terabyte even, I've seen, for as low as $30 a month. I mean, it feels and sounds like it's too good to be true, right? I mean, how are they making money then?
Actually, they are. They are already providing like over 500 GB for actually less than $20, not even $30.
So where's the margin then?
So what I believe is that since the major telcos are doing it, there's surely a market.
Right.
So that's why the MVNOs can afford to do it as well. So it's not super shocking once you see the major telcos themselves are doing it. Then I think the second reason is, they segment their customers. Right. So they understand that this group of customers are looking for this service. Right, and they're not giving 500 GB to everyone. Right, for someone like you, maybe still on your 2-year contract plan, you don't even know about this maybe. So right now, it's still a game of maybe segmenting the customers, so you win over that group of customers.
Based on your observation, are you able to tell how that segmentation is happening?
I feel like each of the different brands, because I think the major telcos, like StarHub, if I'm not wrong, they own Giga and they own 8 as well.
Oh, yes, I've seen that around.
Yeah. So they own 2 MVNOs, right? And you just wonder to yourself, why would they do this? And I think the natural answer is that they are trying to segment different groups of customers. And I have spoken to some people who work at the telcos themselves, and they do agree, sometimes they segment for maybe the students, maybe even the foreign workers at some brands, So different groups of customers, different brand maybe to identify more with them.
I think that's a very interesting strategy, and especially since we have so many demographic groups to think about, right, as a business. Is there any fine print I should be aware of when signing up for a new mobile phone plan?
I think the one major fine print are those that offer those unlimited plans. So sometimes you get throttled, so your speed goes less. After a certain amount of GBs that you have used per day or per month.
Kind of like when we use the SIM card when traveling, you have a limit as to how much data you use, and that affects the speed.
Yeah, but in this case, they offer unlimited. So you never bust your limit, so you never have to pay more. That's the good thing. But the bad thing is that you need to know after how many GBs that you've used per day or per month.
Oh, that's a lot of extra tracking to do on the phone. So speaking about travel, right? I used to buy an extra SIM card when I travel. This was way before the age of eSIM, so I'm giving my age away. Now, many of these virtual operators offer plans that give you data for your trips, and I think you can find them even on Shopee, Lazada, the like, right? Are they as reliable, and how much money am I really saving if I get, say, a bundle deal that's offered on some of these MVNO platforms or even the websites, third-party websites?
So I think to your point, right? Last time we used to travel and then we used to land. We don't have data. We get worried.
Yeah.
We go to the nearest
Oh,
one.
those days are gone now.
Yeah, at the airport. I had to do that once when I traveled to Kashmir actually, because it's kind of a restricted area.
Yes.
I wanted to see the scenery, but I didn't realize how restricted it was. So in some places there's no choice.
That's true.
But in most places, like you just go traveling in Malaysia, Thailand, or something like that. You land at the airport, and last time you have to literally take off your SIM card.
Correct.
Then after a while, they advance a little bit. Then you have 2 SIM cards.
Yes.
Right. So you don't have to take your first one off anymore.
Correct.
And I think now it's just eSIM. Right. And I think everyone should use eSIM because one, you bypass all the hassle. The minute you land, you already have data. Right. Because you might want to contact your hotel. You might want to contact some driver to bring you to your hotel. Right. You might want to get a Grab or ride hailing service. So many reasons to want data the minute you land.
So am I really saving a lot then if I'm purchasing the eSIMs online before my trip?
I think you might not be saving. You might even be paying more sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just so much more convenient.
So there was one time many years ago when I took over my phone bill from my parents. This was in my early adult years. I walked into a telco, the telco that I was already on, and said, okay, I need to buy a new phone. I need to change to a new plan, etc. What can you show me? The customer service officer looked through my account and was quite shocked. She said to me, your plan hasn't changed in like 8 years. You've been paying so much for so little. And I got the shock of my life because I felt cheated. I felt like no one was, keeping me updated on the latest plans, right? To get more bang for your buck. Obviously, the homework has to be left to us. So on that note, how often should we be reviewing our mobile phone plans?
Okay, I think if you haven't already done it and you're watching this, you should review it today.
Yes.
Right?
I'm setting a note in my calendar after this.
Yeah, anyone out there haven't done it before, they should definitely check out the SIM-only plans today.
Okay.
And if you already have your SIM-only plan, then you don't have to check too regularly because it's usually no contract.
Right. But I'm sure they update the perks and the terms ever so often, right?
I write an article about the SIM-only plans and we do update it quite frequently, so like once or twice a year. And every time we do an update on the article, we realize, okay, there's some minor changes. So, they're changing it all the time. Okay. But the changes are not so massive that I feel as an individual personally, I need to review my plan because of it.
Okay.
Right? I just feel like as a person, if you don't track your app and see how much data you use, that's fine. If you do, then it's good. But even if you don't, then you get your bill, you see, hey, I'm really busting the limit. And it's quite regularly. So that's a hint that you should review and update your plan. And also on your bill, sometimes you see how much you've used. So if you haven't used much, you can also downgrade your plan a little bit.
Right? Okay. Is there still a case to be made for contracts then? For mobile phone contracts then?
Okay, I can only answer personally. I feel not really.
Okay.
Although in certain instances, I've spoken to some people who say it might make sense. Especially when some telcos, I think they bundle like a family deal. So you get an added discount and then you also get a handphone subsidy at the end or at the start of your contract.
Right. Okay. That's fair enough.
So I think that's one point.
Okay.
But I don't believe it's enough for me to say, hey,
time to go back to
people
a
should
contract.
think about a 2-year contract because I feel the biggest downside is that you are almost encouraged to upgrade your phone every 2 years.
Yes. That same pressure that we all feel.
And if you don't, then you have an added stress of, okay, now I need to sell this phone.
Which is working perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, even either your phone or the brand new phone.
Yes.
Because you don't need it, you need to then sell it somewhere, right? And then you have that stress of like getting a good price.
Yeah,
so I think it's totally unnecessary.
Okay.
When you use SIM only, you're getting that rebate in a way. You're not paying for that handphone subsidy because I think over the 2 years, it's actually an installment plan almost.
Yeah.
You're paying for that phone anyway.
Essentially, yes.
So when you go on the SIM only, you just maybe save up the difference. Then that's your handphone anytime you need it.
That's true. Okay, so if we decide to switch mobile phone providers in Singapore, how easy or difficult is it? And are there any costs involved?
There was a time where you switch plans and you can't take your phone number with you.
Yes.
I think it's a long while ago.
Yes,
So
we lived in the
now-
same time, yes.
Yeah. So now that's no longer an issue, right? So the cost to switching is not much. You can just switch any day, as long as you don't have a contract, obviously. If you have one, then you can't switch, right? So you can switch any day. I think at most you probably suffer maybe 1 or 2 days of not having connection, because sometimes they send you the SIM card, or sometimes, you have your eSIM but it's not connected yet. So maybe 1-2 days inconvenience.
What's one big mistake that consumers make when choosing a mobile phone plan?
I think the one big mistake they make is they just not understand the type of user that they are.
Oh,
So, for example, if you are someone who don't use so much data, you don't really need that 500 1 TB data. You could go to a smaller data plan, and some of them cost under $10,
okay.
right? If you do need a huge amount of data, then just go for that. And then you can even share the data on some plans. So you need to do that research, and that research is time consuming because different MVNOs have different USPs and
Yes.
different things that they offer. So you need to know that if you're someone who wants to share your maybe 1 TB of data with 4 people in your family, there's a provider that is actually the best for that,
Right.
right? Or if you just want to use your own 20, 30, 40, 50 GBs, then you just go for the lowest hanging fruit, the $10 plans.
Okay. You really need to know yourself well and your consumption then.
Yeah, not just yourself, sometimes your family also. Like if you buy it as a family, then you can make that discount even better.
What are your 3 quick tips for someone trying to save money on their mobile bill?
Okay, 1, definitely check out eSIM. 2, not really a saving tip, but I think when you travel, surely buy your overseas data plans on your phone itself. Just go on your provider's app. They will usually have a function to put it on from a certain date, so you can even do it in advance. So definitely do that, so you don't have to go overseas and get stressed like we discussed. And 3, if you don't need to upgrade your handset, don't force yourself to do it, right?
Dinesh, this has been really, really helpful. I'm glad we had this conversation on Money Talks. It is now time for me to set a calendar alert to review my phone plan. So thanks very much for the reminder. And to you listening out there, if you have any comments or questions, you can always leave us a message. Money Talks is available on Me Listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Big thanks to the team as well. Tiffany Ang, Junaini Johari, Joanne Chan, Hanida Amin, Saya Wind, Shaza Dalila Rahmat. I am Andrea Heng, signing off for the Money Talks podcast.